What's up, everybody? Welcome to my 1 month update of studying intensively Mandarin Chinese using Refold and Migaku. I want to get into a couple things. First and foremost, if you're new here, I know the 1 month videos or the month increment videos tend to attract more of an audience because it's like a larger period of time. So if you're new here, I am documenting my progress of learning Mandarin Chinese intensively using Refold and Migaku. This is not 1 month. Like, I didn't just start Chinese 1 month ago, so like anything that I say, don't take it like, oh man, I should be faster or anything like that. I started studying Mandarin in October of last year and dabbled in it here and there, and I would study it for a little bit and then I wouldn't for a few weeks or a month, and then I'd study it for a little bit and then I wouldn't. And then finally in June, I decided to take it seriously, get intensive with my studies and methodologies behind it. And that's what led me to today. So stick around. I make new videos. I'm gonna be doing some stuff and whatnot, so feel free to stick around. But today I want to talk about my 1 month progress update on Mandarin Chinese. This video will be broken into a couple of sections just like usual, where it's going to be talking about my study habits and then my immersion, things like that. So because I do kind of a combination of both. First and foremost, I had 86 hours and 12 minutes. I got a couple of notes on my computer, that's why I keep looking down. 86 hours and 12 minutes of study time, or like immersion time, total time spent in Chinese, there we go, this past month. And I think that that's good. The first couple of weeks, if you remember watching my update videos, I wanted to hit right around 3 hours a day. I don't know what 86 hours is. I don't know how many days there were between June 18th and July 18th, but regardless, I'm happy with that. I wanted to hit between 80 and 90 hours. My hours probably would have been higher, but the last 3 days, I went on a Stranger Things binge because I watched seasons 1 and 2, and then I just stopped watching because it took so long to come out, and then my wife kept being like, you need to watch it, you need to watch it. So 3 days ago, I watched all of season 3. 2 days ago, I watched season 4, episodes 1 through 8, and then my wife wanted to watch the finale with me again because she had already seen it. So last night I watched the finale, which was 2.5 hours. So my time probably could have been higher, but Stranger Things happened and whatever. So, but anyway, I'm still happy with the 86 hours and 12 minutes. I don't think that that means that I'm not progressing or anything like that. I know I'm progressing. I know for a fact I'm progressing. But I think that it just means that I can study, I can immerse, I can have fun with the language, and I can also do stuff that I want to do. I think that's ultimately the method. And even in those days, I still studied for at least an hour to an hour and a half, somewhere around in there. So I'm perfectly satisfied with where I'm at in terms of time spent on the language. Plus I have a family and all that stuff. So that's a lot of time spent for someone that has the stuff going on that I do. So with study, we'll do study first and then immersion. We'll kind of bleed into immersion. Because the reason is I think immersion is incredibly important. I think it's probably the most important part. However, the study has led me to my immersion being more efficient. Every day that I study every day, but like, it just depends on how much, because most of my time is spent in immersion, but I will spend a little bit of time on study, and I will study in everything that I study, almost every single time that I study. I mentioned this in the past video. Every single time that I study, whatever concept, whatever grammar point, whatever words that I'm learning within that context, I see in my immersion. So I'm studying it, I'm being familiarized with it, and then there it is. Now, I know that the idea, or it used to be in Refold or MIA, whatever you want to call it, it was, well, don't study, just watch it, you'll eventually get it. And I've always been of the mindset that, or I could spend 5 minutes learning a concept, and then every time I see it, it strengthens, versus having to spend hundreds of hours until it finally just clicks. You can do whatever you want. I'm not judging either way, whichever way that you say. I just know that for me, when I study, and I use 2 main programs, HelloYo Chinese, well, I don't count, so Anki, even though it is study, I count Anki as part of immersion, but I use YoYo Chinese and I use HelloYo Chinese. Those are the 2 things that I use. Every time I study something, I see that concept in my immersion, and it makes me feel so good because I have a little bit better of an understanding of it. So HelloYo Chinese, I am in the HSK 3 section. I have finished the HSK 1 and 2. Does that mean I could pass those tests? Probably not. But again, As mentioned before, not overly concerned about the HSK. My goal is to just be able to understand Chinese at this point. Obviously, I want to speak a little bit as well. And I have 19 lessons to go until I finish HSK 3 in YoYo Chinese. I'm sorry, in Hello Chinese. And it's going well. Hello Chinese, I like the way that it's set up. I think it's really, really cool. You can use it for free. You can check it out on the App Store up until you hit the HSK 3, and then it's, I think I paid $20 for 3 months access, and I feel like hopefully I can finish the course in 3 months, but if not, I mean, $20 to have a little bit of a guided influence is there. I did pick Hello Chinese over Lingo Deer just because I thought that Hello Chinese had a little bit better, Lingo Deer is great, but Hello Chinese, the review system is much, much better. In Lingo Deer, the review system is kind of there, and you can study weak topics, but I've noticed that they don't weaken overly fast, so usually I would review the stuff that I had studied the day before, and then it would almost never weaken again. It was just always just good, and I don't like that. Hello Chinese has a much better review system. Every day I've got reviews. Sometimes it can be 40, sometimes it could be, 15. It depends on what I'm doing that day. Yesterday I had 9 actually. And also it depends on how much that you study new every day. And I don't study new topics every day. If I struggle with some of the reviews, I'll actually go back into that lesson and re-go over some stuff. The thing I struggle with the most are directions. And it's more so, it's not even directions, it's more so which way the words go. Like, is it Shang Zuo Guai, or is it Guai Zuo, or is it, I get all that stuff confused. And I'm not overly concerned about that because I'm not in China. I don't need to ask for directions. And it's one of those things to where, because in Hello Chinese, you're producing it. You're having to produce it. Not necessarily say it, but you're having to pick the words out and stuff like that. And I know that if I hear it, I'm going to know what's going on. So I'm not overly concerned about that, but it is what it is. But Hello Chinese is fantastic. I highly recommend it. They have more intensive payment plans where you can pay, I think it's like $60 for 3 months, something crazy. But they have like just a tab called Immersion, and you just learn through conversations and things like that. They teach you new grammar concepts. I don't do that because I just do immersion with watching TV and stuff, but I think honestly it's probably a good thing, and if it wasn't so expensive I'd probably get it, simply because it's going to be a lot more comprehensible, and comprehensible input is kind of, the thing. Make sure you're always studying at a level that is slightly above you, as to where when I'm immersing, sometimes I'll go 4 or 5 sentences with knowing what it is, and then I might hit a wall and there's a sentence where literally not a single word is anything that I know. But anyway, Hello Chinese has helped me tremendously teaching the grammar points. It's laid out in a way where obviously it's taught in a comprehensible way. It teaches you a new concept with words that you already know. Some of the words that I come across in Hello Chinese are words that I already know because of immersion. Cards, it's words that I've already made flashcards for, or whatever the case may be in that way. So at that rate, it's just kind of bonus practice getting it in, and it makes learning the grammar construction just a little bit easier because I am familiar with that vocabulary word. YoYo Chinese is there. I'm in Unit 2 in intermediate conversational. I am 13 lessons in total. I'm 3 lessons into Unit 2's course, but I'm 13 lessons total in. I think there's 60 in it as well. And I'm slowly working through those. And a lot of it's because I'm also into intermediate stuff, and I'm trying to make sure that the stuff that I'm learning this day, I can spend a couple days of immersing and maybe seeing that idea in immersion and then carrying on like that. So I'm just taking it at a slow pace. I am going through their flashcard system now. They do have some flashcards. It's not the best flashcard system, but just to kind of produce some of that stuff and get it up into my head and just say the words. I use that more so for like shadowing practice because it has audio linked to all of them, and the word will pop up and I'll try to imitate it. So I'm using that for kind of, not necessarily speaking practice, because I'm not practicing speaking as far as like trying to talk to somebody. You know, if I order food at a Chinese restaurant or something, I may say a thing or two, but I'm using that for just trying to make sure I get tones down and things like that. So not much to say on YoYo Chinese outside of I'm still working through it. The intermediate course is mostly done through conversation. The thing I like about YoYo Chinese is they will teach you a bunch of different ways that people say the same thing. The teacher will teach you the correct grammatical pronunciations and all that stuff and how you're supposed to say it grammatically correct. But then she will also tell you how people say it naturally. And I think that's helpful because a lot of times if you learn textbook anything, it's so completely different than what it is. You know, and for example, in English, how many times do you meet somebody and you say, "Hello, my name is Jonathan. It is so nice to meet you. I'm very pleased to meet you." I mean, never. I don't know if I've ever done that. You might say like, "Oh, nice to meet you," or something like that, but it's never that like weirdly formal, you know, type of situation. Maybe once or twice in your life, or unless you're like a high up CEO of something or something like that. But it's usually a more so common expression of just like, "Oh, nice to meet you. Yeah, cool, yeah, whatever." So I like that they teach that. But anyway, that's pretty much it for YoYo Chinese. Now going into Immersion, I will branch these two together with Anki because, like I said, I consider Anki more so Immersion based because it's, you know, making flashcards through Immersion, but it's also technically study. So Anki will be the bridge between these. So with Anki, I have made 312 cards this month, which I feel really good about. That's the most I've ever done. When I was trying to do Japanese, I don't know how many cards that I mined, but it wasn't 300. That's just keeping a steady pace. There's been a day or two where I haven't done it, but I always have a few extra cards left over so I can still at least get a couple of new cards, and that feels really good. My retention rate, I have a couple of cards in the mature status now, which is where, you know, they don't show up for a little bit longer, but I've not had them show up in a review yet. Like, they've been officially moved to mature status, but they've not shown up in a review yet, so I don't have a percentage of retention on mature cards, and I know that's the one that you're focused on, because it means it's more so, I guess, in your long-term memory or whatever. But the young cards, like the more so shorter-term cards, my retention rate, when I first started, if you'll remember, in the first video, my like week 1 thing, I think my retention rate was somewhere around, it was low 80s, like 80, it might have been 79 point something, but around 80% or so. That retention rate has went up to 85.92. So I'm almost 86% retention rate on the young cards. I don't know what you're supposed to shoot for, but I actually feel really, really good about that. And that's working pretty well for me. I don't use any other Anki decks. I have a couple downloaded that I was gonna maybe get into, but I just use my sentence mining deck, and that seems to work really, really well for me. I don't spend a ton of time in Anki just because I know that I can get use other places. And the cool thing is, you know, from where I use Migaku with Immersion, any word that I'm actively studying in Anki has a yellow underline under it, so I can see it. I can look it up as the word comes up in my Immersion in the subtitles, and it just makes it easier to just kind of recall that information instead of spending a ton of time in Anki or anything like that. So, but Anki is serving the purpose it's supposed to, you know. I'm starting to see kind of the importance of that. I know that it's back and forth and people are like, oh, we shouldn't, or I know there's tons of language learners that don't use it, and that's fantastic. There's tons of ways to do it. But for me personally, being able to see those words regularly come up, having the audio attached to it, has just made an absolute difference. Like, I'm starting to really see the importance in that, and it's starting to help a ton. Seeing those words, it's also training me to, well, the other words that I'm knowing in the sentence obviously are getting stronger as well, because I'm just I only mine sentences. I think I have 2 or 3 cards where it's multiple words, but they kind of go together. But most of my cards are 99.9% of my cards are where just one word in the sentence is a word that I don't know. And again, I've deleted several cards. If it's something that I think that I know in the moment of immersing, and then when I'm reviewing it, I'm like, I don't quite grasp this. I just delete it, man. As I mentioned before, I'm not trying to be a superior, I know everything that I'm doing. If I don't know it, I delete it. I'll see the word again, I promise. It's not a big deal. And it is what it is. I don't care. So, but I will delete the card, and then that's why I mine more than like 10 or 12 cards a day that way, or try to. That way I've always got some in the tank in case I do need to delete one. I've got one to fall back on. Like I don't just mine 10 cards and then, oh man, I don't know this one, so boom, now I'm down to 9. If I'm doing 10 cards a day, then I'll mine 12 or 13, so I've got a little bit extra. And hey, if I don't use those 2 or 3 extra, then I'm already 3 ahead for the next day, and I carry on. So that is that. But within Immersion, I watched all of Meteor Garden. I watched all of a show called Accidentally in Love, which was really, really cool. And now I'm watching a show called Take My Brother. And it's pretty fun too. So Meteor Garden was much easier to understand for me. It's probably the one that I've understood the most of. And I think a lot of it's just because it's like real life stuff, like just people in school talking and dating and whatever. But they spoke a lot clearer. And maybe I'm just not maybe I'm not recognizing that this is happening in my brain. But maybe at the beginning I didn't understand it. I just got used to the way that those characters talk, because in Accidentally in Love, when I first started it, I couldn't understand like a lot of what they were saying. Like I really heavily relied on the subtitles. But as I progressively got into it, I could it's like I learned their pronunciation habits, the characters, and how they would like cut certain syllables off or like certain sounds off just in their fast speech. And I guess it's just something that you're gonna have to get used to. China's a massive country. There's tons of dialects. Within Mandarin, of course, you've got their own dialects, that they speak to, Fujonese and Shanghaiese and all that stuff. But it's just gonna take a long time to see how those words come together. And I think as I watch more shows, I'll become more accustomed to it. But it's just a slow process, and that's okay. So, Take My Brother is a fun show. I'm only three episodes into that, and again, Stranger Things came up, and so I was wanting to watch that. But I don't know what I would say my comprehension rate is, because it's so hard to gauge. Because I'll be watching something, and with Migaku, if it's words that nothing will be underlined and it just flows. And so I may have 4 or 5 sentences where it's that, because they're speaking very basic, very short, kind of like one idea sentences. And then you may hit a run-on sentence and I may understand like the first part of it, but not the second part. But then sometimes I'll get the parts and it's literally every word is underlined and I have no clue what any of it means at all. So it's still a mixed bag of where I'm at comprehension-wise. But for being a month in, I know that the little bit of background has helped me a ton, but being a month in, 300 cards in, that's 300 more words that I'm at least familiar with, and every day it seems like I'm understanding just a little bit more. It's a slow work in progress. I think the biggest thing is going to be just getting to a point where I can understand stuff, and then trying to go without subtitles, because there's so many different dialects, and that's okay. So, but that's it. I mean, Immersion is what it is. I use Netflix predominantly. I will occasionally watch YouTube, but I haven't found a lot of great Chinese YouTubers, and I don't know if that's because YouTube is banned in China. I don't know what the situation is there, but there's like 1 or 2 that I'll watch periodically, just to get that more natural immersion where I'm just listening to him speak, no subtitles, just trying to kind of live in the moment. So I know that I could up my time with that, and it would help me get there faster. But right now, I'm honestly just enjoying the process that I'm on. I'm really enjoying the little bit of time studying, and then I love seeing that with an immersion. And it is what it is. I do watch with English and Chinese subtitles on. As I mentioned, for the first month, maybe 2, I'm gonna do that, just so I can get kind of this backlog of Chinese content that I'm familiar with. And then I'm gonna start watching probably with just this Chinese subtitles and go from there. And I'm enjoying doing that. So it is what it is. Speaking practice, I haven't done anything like that. I've not scheduled any italki lessons or anything like that. Maybe I will soon. I'm not 100% sure, but it's not anything that I've done just yet. And I'm not concerned about it. I have fun, you know, ordering crab rangoon in Mandarin. And then I also have fun just watching a ton of content and just being able to understand it. So taking it a step at a time and going on from there. I don't know how many words, I know a lot of people are like, how many words do you think you know? I don't know. I really don't. I would have no way of gauging that. I think I know a lot more probably than I would give myself credit for. But at the same time, I probably don't know a lot. I obviously don't know a lot. There's still a lot of concepts that I don't understand, and that's okay. So I don't know how many words I would say that I know. I don't even know that I would say I know all the words in the HSK 1 and 2. I just know that I've been through the grammar points and I'm at least familiar with them enough to where when I see them in Immersion, I can at least see the idea of what is going on there. So not sure how many words that I know. Sorry, that's always the question. Everybody's like, how many words do you know? I really don't. But that's it, man. That's the first month. I feel really good. I feel really motivated. I'm enjoying the process, and I think that's just a big part of everything, just enjoying the process, making sure it's fun, making sure what you're doing is something that you can stick to, and you know, it is what it is. If you're wondering, hey, I wish I could get 3 hours a day in, please take into consideration that I work from home. I work where it's a lot easier for me to get time with the language. I'm not stuck behind a desk 8 hours a day. I do stuff as needed, and I do it as promptly as needed, and I will work outside the box to make sure I'm doing stuff even in advance, just to make sure that I have stuff ready for, you know, the people that I work for doing, you know, editing or whatever the case may be. But I have a lot more time. It's not that I have a lot more time, it's just I have a lot more options to get a 10-minute Anki session in, or watch a little bit of show in between editing this or that. So don't think that you're not putting time in where you can. I'm just in a very fortunate situation to where I can spend more time with the language, and you know, that still gives me plenty of time. Like right now I'm spending 3-ish hours a day with the language. That gives me time to take my son outside and play, or take him to the park. After he goes to bed, me and my wife will watch, you know, an hour or two of television, and then I may finish off the day with just a little bit of Chinese. So everything is balanced really nicely right well. So I just wanted to say that because a lot of people see what other people are doing and they're like, oh man, I'm not as dedicated, or I'm not as this. Look, it's not that I'm dedicated. I'm just very blessed to have a little bit more time and a little bit more flexibility with my work, to where I'm not just tethered to a desk and they're monitoring my monitor, making sure I'm not even accidentally misspelling something in Google because they're going to dock me 10 cents because I wasted 45 seconds of company time. It's not a situation like that. So I do have a little bit more of a fortunate situation to where I can spend more time with Chinese. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. This video is a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what you think down below, and I will try to answer any questions. Thank you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.